like the transition to the side of the room. I'm Nate, you guys. Just Nate, I go by Nate, what have you, but the Keynote name came from, actually, David Blake. So David has had an opportunity to hear me speak at so many different places at different occasions. And on Facebook, I lead a concept called Nate's Nuggets. And Nate's Nuggets gives leaders potent nuggets every single week to encourage you, to help you do better. If you're young, the nuggets help you improve in where you are in your age bracket. You know, if we're more seasoned, where we have experience and we have careers and we're entrepreneurs, it gives you nuggets of how to manage people. So each week, Nate's Nuggets are what I put on it. And Dave said, you know what, you're like a keynote. That's what I'm gonna call you, the keynote. I was like, man, I like that. So everywhere I go, I gotta always give him the credit. Because if not, he'll sue me. So Dave, Dave is the reason why I have the name The Keynote, because he branded it on me. So I use it now because of Dave. All right. I
Yay, Dave.
So we're with that for right now. So the Boss Up Leadership Conference. So I like to do trivia. I'm a professor by profession, and I teach English. So it's funny that I was born in North Carolina, but I was raised in Connecticut. And so when I go from Connecticut to North Carolina to visit family, they say, oh, you have an accent. Well, I don't hear an accent. But when I get there, I say, well, you guys have an accent, because y'all say y'all and then and finta. I said, well, what is a finta? A finta, getting ready to. I said, we just say, well, I'm going to, or I'm getting ready to. No, we finta, it's too many words. Getting ready to or go, just say finta go. I can't, I'm still struggling with finta. So, and nobody can spell it. Like, I don't even know how they spell finta. They just say it. It's a word you don't spell. You just one of the things you say. Like the term chitterlings. That's the word. It's chitterlings. It ain't chitlins. The word is chitterlings. So it's interesting when I go to different places, the dialect, because it makes it fun, creative, and engaging as you meet people. So for me, I came up with a concept called the Boss Leadership Conference because of the Boss Leadership Institute. The Boss Leadership Institute trains leaders to develop their skill set, enhance their ability to become entrepreneurs. And I love working with young folks because there are people, when I look on the internet and see, you know, a 12-year-old boy who has his own business making ties. At 12? At 12, I was outside, we was catching football, we was trying to play tag, we were messing up the double dutch game because we was pushing a girl. We was all messed up at 12. I wasn't thinking about a business mindset. Then I see a girl who's 8. At 8 years old, she's developing her public speaking skills at 8 to potentially be an astronaut later. But she's learning how to speak well now at 8. So she gets the dictionary and she quizzes herself. Not her parents, not her grandparents. She quizzes herself each week on her ability to improve her speaking skills so that she's literate enough to compete against other people in debate teams. At 8. Your potential is never limited and never capped just because of your age. Right. So, the Boss Leadership Team, in 2017, 2018, we did the DC conference. That conference was called Inspired and Empowered to Lead. The Boss Leadership Conference, Inspired and Empowered to Lead. This one is the Boss Up. We just move you to another level of greatness. You're already great. We just move it to a next level. At that conference, there was a lady in the audience who got up very emotional when we did the Q&A. And we'll do a Q&A today. When we did the Q&A, and she talked about how she had put her business down for 15 years. She was inspired. She wanted to do it. 15 years she hadn't touched it. She got her question that just moved the audience was, am I still relevant at my age? Everybody stopped and was like, yo, this is not supposed to be like a tearing session. This is supposed to be an encouraging session. But what happened in the session was, there are a lot of people who feel like they're just off. Their balance is off. They're not on kilter. They're just not focused right. And therefore, they are questioning their potential. They are questioning if they're relevant. They're questioning if they matter. And I'm here to say, you absolutely matter. You matter. You are significant. Your value. I don't talk about your input. Mark is good. Mark talks about your input. I love talking about your output. Because once you got it in you, going back to DNA, remember that slide in the very beginning? We had a slide that said DNA. Who remembers the word? What's the word, Derek?
Deoxyribonucleic acid.
You heard that country twang on deoxyribonucleic acid? Yes, deoxyribonucleic acid. It's already in you. You develop it, and what you produce is what impacts and affects other people. So I love the concept of, well, what do I have to offer? We're going to talk about that today. Everybody has something to offer. And what you have to offer, and Tara hit on it, what you have to offer is always different from what somebody else offers. Every last one of us are public speakers. Mark is more humorous with his public speaking. Tara, did y'all see the counseling kind of piece of Tara's? She talks at a certain tone in her voice, and then she elevates it. So people feel calm around her. If you were agitated when you came in, Tara's like, oh, I feel a little relaxed now. Tara has a way of doing that. And for me, I come from an angle where I always want people to think about, how can I be better? Whatever I'm doing now, what's the next level up? What's the next? And I'm not talking about Sierra's song. Y'all know the young folks. Sierra got a song called Level Up, right? Some of the other folks know that too. You say, I know that, right?
All the way down there.
Hey, called Level Up. The interesting thing about the song is, how do you move to your next level of greatness as a leader? And I believe entrepreneurs and people who have a business mindset will change the landscape of America. Absolutely change it. Because you're not relying on government. You are the change. Government is not relying on you. And when you impact the business sector as an entrepreneur, I don't care if you like shoestrings. Find out whatever the skill set you have with shoestrings and enhance it and make it a business. To me, everything is a business. Everything. Everything is a business. Everything. If you parent well, train some parents how to do it better. Everything is a business. If you're young folks and you cheer well or you play sports well, train some other folks how to do it, and it can become a business. Because now people come to you because you're now a resource. See that? That's how you flip it. You are now a resource, and then you become the source that people need. I'm telling y'all, if you boss up, it'll move you. Now, the word boss is an acronym. Here's what boss means. It means balanced, original, sane, and self-sufficient. So all I'm going to do is just take some time today and just talk about what those elements really mean in leadership. And what does it mean to you as you think about, how do I level up to my next level of greatness? So the first one is balance. And on the screen you should see a balance beam. Now, who knows what a balance beam really is? Who knows what that is? By a show of hands. Nobody. Or you just, Ron, what is it?
Well, in terms of that,
what is this?
it's a balance beam where gymnasts perform in order to, I guess, score, influence the judge to score points.
Good word, influence. So I'm going to extract some words from this. So influence. Who else got anything to add to this? Who else can add some more to that? What you got, Dion?
So a gymnast can succeed on this balance board if they look at the end and not where they are.
Success. She said succeed. So succeed, influence. All right, I need one more thing because y'all are on it. It's one more thing I want you to try to capture. Who else can look at this balance beam and tell me, what do you see or what do you not see? Go ahead, Dee. Yeah.
A gymnast also has to block everybody out. Focus on themselves.
Watch this. A balance beam. This is just a little history in gymnastics. A balance beam is built 4 feet from the floor. And it's only built 4 feet from the floor on purpose because there's a level of equilibrium, your balance, your internal balance. There's an equilibrium that's commensurate with the 4 feet level. Watch this. A gymnast learns a certain skill set. On this balance beam, they can flip, they can spin around on one foot, they can even stand on their hands on a 4-foot rod made of wood, and it's only attached to the floor. Watch this. The influence that a gymnast has on the viewers who see them on the balance beam has a way of also impacting the judges and determining the success of the gymnast. All I'm saying is, I don't care how high or low your beam is. Use your beam to your potential. Get your balance on point so that you can impact and influence others. Don't worry about what the beam look like. It's supposed to be dusty. You're supposed to have some hard knocks in life. I don't care that the beam is red and tan. It could be all black. Don't look at the aesthetics of it. Use your beam, whatever it is, to level you up to I don't care that you're an introvert. It doesn't matter. Because even as an introvert, how do you use your ability to be a little refined and confined to still enhance and impact? That's what it's about. And I only put this picture up here because I want y'all to think about balance. And so from this, we get influence and we get success and we get some things. But there are two words I want you to look at. So on your sheet that you have in your book, if you're tracking me, in your booklet, in the registration booklet, there are two things that you get from balance. The first one is control, and the second one is focus. Control and focus. Now, I'm not talking about control like Janet Jackson album way back when. Y'all wasn't even born. Some of y'all teenagers wasn't even born when Janet Jackson did that. Some of us knew that. What's going on with Rhythm Nation and Control and all that stuff. What I'm talking about with control is your ability to understand where your center is. What do I mean by that? Everybody, this is a leadership conference. Everybody has to be connected to somebody else that's a leader. You have to be. Now, Mark talked about that thing. Remember his 0.5 point. Oh, this should be a trivia. His 0.5 was what? Get
coaching.
Get coaching. Your therapist needs a therapist. His sister's a therapist. A counselor. She's a psychologist, right? Psychiatrist. She did. So listen, I went through therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist. She's all of them is. So here's what's interesting. If you are going to really have control as a leader, you've got to be connected to somebody else who is in better control than you are. It is, you know, in some vernaculars we say it's about submitting to somebody else who can help prune you. And we'll talk about that under the focus piece. But let's talk about control. Now, Bruce Wilkinson is an author who wrote a book called The Secrets of the Vine. Now, that's irrelevant. You need to know the secrets of the vine. Don't worry about that. Let me tell you what he talked about. He talked about in the book about leadership and how leadership has the propensity to flourish and produce results and fruit if it's connected right. So watch this. On the next screen, you're going to see. So control and focus. So watch this. The vine, under control, the vine of a vineyard. In our minds, when we think of a vineyard, we think of all of the branches and everything growing up top. We don't really talk about the root. But you can't get a branch without a root. You can't get fruit without a branch. You can't get fruit or a branch without a vine dresser cultivating it. Because the cultivation part is the pruning, the packing it in, the cutting it off, the shaking it, the removing of the bugs and the gnats and the spiders, all of those different things. What are the bugs and the gnats and the spiders? The people who come to eat away at your potential. There are spiders and gnats and insects and wasps and bees that are coming to eat away at your potential. And if they eat away at your potential, your fruit rottens. Thus, the vine dresser. The vine dresser is a beast. The vine dresser goes out in all types of weather. So let's backtrack. Let me walk you through how we create fruit from a vineyard. The root is underground. Do you know why you don't see the root, the base of the root? Because it's deep. If you get a good boss or a good mentor who has deep roots, what you can learn by sitting under their tutelage is amazing. Absolutely. You couldn't even pay for it. You couldn't pay for it. Because you are absorbing so much knowledge and wisdom, experience, and expertise that it's enhancing you almost daily or every time you interact with them. But here's what's powerful about a root. When it's strong and it's built right, it breaks through the soil. The root never always stays underground. It sometimes surfaces. Now, when the root surfaces, then we get the actual branches. Now, branches stem from the root. Now, here's what's interesting about a branch and why you need a vine dresser. Branches grow wild. If we don't have somebody containing us and controlling us and helping sharpen and shaping us in different areas, we'll be all over the place. And we'll be doing damage to people all over the place. The goal is not to do damage. The goal is to inspire and influence. And if we're going to inspire and influence, we've got to be careful as how we branch out and touch other folks. Very important. We touch folks in our athleticism. We touch folks in our daily conversation in the office. We touch folks at church. What's the lasting impress impact that you're leaving on people that you touch? That's just something to think about. That's completely rhetorical. The last person I touched, what was the impact I had on them? It will make you ponder and consider, I probably need to look at what's my root, what's going on in the root area of me, because I'm branching out kind of off. Let me pull back and get some vine dressers to help cultivate me so I can branch out correctly. So now you have your root. Everything comes from the root. And now you have your branches, which go all kinds of places. So when your branches go all kinds of places, the vine dresser says, okay, let me come in and help you. And your vine dresser in this analogy that I'm utilizing is your boss or a mentor or just somebody you respect, who you really honor their originality and who they are. You respect that. The vine dresser comes in and says, let me prune, let me taper. Now, here's what's amazing. It would be one thing if the vine dresser came in and said, okay, let me help get you right. But they don't just do that. The vine dresser comes in and then he adds a trellis, or she adds a trellis. Now, a trellis can be made of bamboo, wood, or a metallic frame. All a trellis is a piece that is erected out of the ground so that the branches grow up and are put on display. Let me tell you what I just told you. Let me go back. When you are rooted and connected with somebody who's a great boss or someone you respect and honor who gives you good wisdom, they help you branch out wider and bigger and longer so that you branching out impacts a greater population of individuals. When you impact that population of individuals, the goal of the vine dresser is to put you on display on your trellis so that you shine. Every leader, we train for leadership. That's what we do. That's why we train our children. You need to learn how to do chores. At least we used to. So I'm going back to the old school. And my son is 21. So you will clean up your room. You're going to sweep this kitchen. You're going to do those dishes. And you're going to take out this trash. What do we, as the vine dresser, what am I doing? I'm training him. You need to learn responsibility. So you don't know that cleaning dishes is responsibility. You don't know that sweeping your room is responsibility. You don't even know that taking out the trash is responsibility. But you will learn it because you're going to work for an employer who might just say, I need you to take the garbage out. And in order to stay employed, my vine dresser taught me when I was younger, take the trash out because that's part of the responsibility that I have. Well, I'm part of this job. I'm connected to the network of people at this job. Therefore, I should take the trash out because it impacts my network. You have a network. And here's what's interesting. When you're put on display by the vine dresser, by your boss, but I've been pushed out to do things that I absolutely would not have done under my own recognizance. I wouldn't have done it. I had a boss one time, Dr. Arthur Jackson from Connecticut. I never met, he was the vice president. I worked at Norfolk State University. He was the vice president of the university. He said, Nate, I want you and a couple other guys to get together. We're losing our young males. They drop out of school after the second year in college. What can we do better? I was like, give them scholarship money? He was like, no. How do we help them? I don't know the answer to that. He said, I need you to do some research and find out what are other institutions doing? What can we do better here? I was like, what am I supposed to do with that? He pushed me. And he pushed me to the point where when I would come back with information, he would say, go back and get some additional research. And I got to the point where I was like, hey, look, I'm not going back 5 more times. I brought you information you didn't even have. So what am I doing? What was he doing? He was, as the vine dresser, he was saying, okay, I need to cultivate your branches. Because if you do this right, it'll have a greater impact. The goal was retention. How do we keep young men out of jail and prison and off the streets? By having them go to college. It's more than just what you see. I'm not just having you do research. I'm having you do research because we're about to impact some lives and change them forever. I couldn't see past the branch. I couldn't see. But the vine dresser puts you on the trellis for display so that you can start to operate in your gift and then show others what you have to bring. They're control. So once the trellis is set up, what do you produce? You produce fruit. And your fruit are those people you impact. Your fruit are those who are changed because they encounter you. Your fruit, and listen, cherry is a fruit. Cherry has a pit though. So you got to eat around the pit. It don't stop the flavor of the cherry. It don't stop it at all. Let's talk about peaches. Peaches have a pit in there. But the peach can be sweet if it's the vine dresser does it right.
You can have the sweet to the point where juice running down the side of your mouth. You trying to catch the juice in the mouth and everything, all of that. All on your clothes. Good fruit makes you want more fruit. Good fruit makes you want more. Here's a little interesting tidbit. Terry and I was talking about the fruit we have in the back. That fruit comes with a little caramel tray in the center. Now, I can eat the apples, I can eat the grapes, but if I get some of the caramel on that apple, I want more caramel and apple. Good fruit makes you want more good fruit. That's why control is important. As leaders, as we boss up, as we move to the next level of greatness, we have to make sure we're under somebody's leadership. We're submitted is a term we use. That we're submitted to somebody where they can help sharpen us. They can give us critique. And a lot of times we don't want critique, especially if we've been doing this for a long time. I've been in higher ed for over 20 years. I've seen all kinds of trends in education, all kinds. I can talk about education until I'm asleep, and in my sleep, I can regurgitate stuff to you. But I still have to learn. I still have to research. I still have to go to seminars. I still have to go to networking events. I have a different group of students. We say that they're the same students, but they're not. Every semester, I have a different group of students. They're learning the same subject, which is English, but they're a different group. So I have to adapt. I have to teach differently. And one of the things I've learned too, I've learned to listen better. Because they'll tell me stuff by their nonverbals that I need to do to help them become better in English. All because I listen. Well, how did I learn listening? Because I had a vine dresser and I had a boss who was so rooted in their gift. She was so rooted in her gift. He was so rooted in his ability and talent that as they developed me, they said, okay, now listen. You from Connecticut, you like to talk. I like to talk from Connecticut. We from the city, we always talking. He said, but if you listen better, then what you say has a greater impact. Not just that you said it. Catch this. If we listen better, what we say has a better impact than just what we said. Yeah. Very powerful. So I'm learning, even still, I'm learning to hear what's not said so that I can navigate and figure out how can I have an impact because I got to produce fruits. So we're talking about balance. You got to be connected to somebody who is going to help prune you and develop you. Now, the interesting thing about pruning and development, we don't like to hear no sometimes. We don't like to hear you go back. We don't like to hear you got to be corrected. We don't like to hear you were too harsh. We don't like to hear you should have spoke up more. We don't like to hear, oh, you could have produced. We don't like to hear that sometimes. But that's part of the focus piece. A good leader has a focus that sometimes we miss because we're only looking at what's in front of us. That's why you can go to the doctor and have 20/20 in one eye and be 20/80 in the other. Why? Because it's all about your scope. S-C-O-P-E. Your scope allows you to see things up close, but scopic allows you to see things from afar. Normally, when you are in the military and you are trained as a master shooter, they give you a scope on the top of your gun so that the scope allows you to see things that are way off as if you were right there in front of it. Our scope has to be important because our focus matters as to where we go and how we impact people. Now, the thing about focus is, let me talk about sheep. There's a person that's called a shearer. A shearer, S-H-E-A-R-E-R. A shearer is a person who uses almost like a scissor-like knife. It can be metal. When you go to the barbershop, ladies or men, or just a salon, a barber or a stylist or a cosmetologist shears your hair with the scissors. But it's a different type of scissors. Watch this. Depending upon what you are shearing, you have to use a different kind of blade. Watch this. The greater your level of leadership, the sharper the blade has to be because you have to heal quick and you have to turn it around quicker. Now I can use a duller blade on somebody who's developing because they can handle the nicks that a sharper blade can handle. When you're new in leadership, I can't give you a sharp blade. I got to give you a little dull blade with the little purple handles on it so you can't even cut your finger with it. That's what we do with children. Little elementary kids, we give them little scissors. They have little orange handles, a little purple. They can't cut nothing. They can even try to stab themselves, but it's dull on the end of the scissors. But when you are a master chef, when you're a master barber or a master cosmetologist, you use the sharpest scissors. and you are skilled with it. You're agile with the scissors. You know how much to cut and what does the tress look like. You know how much to shave and how much, because you're a master barber. You're a master cosmetologist. So when shearers shear sheep, they have to use a certain type of shearers depending upon the type of the sheep that they're working with. Watch this. Because when the shearer is holding the sheep is wiggling trying to get away. A good boss knows how to hold you close, even when you don't want to be held, when you don't want to listen, when you don't want to obey, when you don't want to produce, when you say no, and you have your baby toddler fit, why me? A good boss knows how to hold you close enough that they can cut away all of that negativity. They can cut away all of that self-centeredness. They can cut away all of that selfishness. Now, you might get nicked in the cutting, but a good shearer, they'll nick you. You might bleed a little bit, but it's a learning process. The better that you become at listening and being obedient, the better the shearer is at shaving off the stuff that won't hurt you. And the nicks become less. Very powerful. Balance requires control and focus. Get under a good boss or a good leader. Get sheared. Let them cut off the stuff that's negatively affecting you. And one of the reasons why shearers shear sheep is because in the sheep's wool, they use that, obviously, for money. They get money from that. It's a product. But if they don't shear the sheep's wool, the sheep can be blinded because the wool will cover their eyes. In addition, there are mites and ticks and bugs that get embedded in the sheep that can cause the sheep to die because of disease. Watch this. If you are not sheared, ticks and insects and mites, things that can sap your blood, sap your energy, take your potential, will cause you to be sick and want to quit and give up. But we're balanced. So the first part of being a boss is being balanced. We have to get our control right. We got to sit under some leadership. We have to get our focus correct. Now the interesting thing is the next part, we go from balance to the O. Who remember what the O was? Original. That's it right there. Tara hit on that so good, I thought I'm going to have to change my message, but I don't know how I'm going to do it because y'all going to see the slide. So, original. One of the things that we are passionate about as boss leaders is your originality matters. I'm from Connecticut. I am very loud. I'm loud all the time. And I remember when I was raising, when my son was living with me and I was raising before he went out on his own, he would say all the time, "Dad, I can hear you. Why are you talking so loud?" I said, "Dude, I just talk loud anyway." Even when I'm giving instruction, he was like, "Are you mad at me?" I was like, "No, that's just how I talk." If I was mad at you, you know it. No, that's just how I talk. But what I found out is, at one point in my leadership development, because I had this stigma about being loud, I stopped talking. I just pulled back. I wouldn't communicate with people the way that I communicate now. Because, and Tara hit on it too, we let what people say affect our potential. And Mark said it, don't just have potential, you got to be doing some work. Because if you got potential and you're not working, you don't have no potential. So the ironic thing about that is I saw myself changing because I had this stigma about being loud. And then I just came to myself one day, and I remember I was talking to some other leaders. We were in a group meeting, and some leaders were saying, "What is your value? What do you bring to people?" And I was like, well, that's a good question. What is your value? What do you bring to people? And that's the question I have for you guys. What do you bring to people? What's your value? And I started saying, well, I like to inspire people. I'm high energy, and da-da-da-da. And one lady said, "You know what, Nate, you loud. But you loud for me because I don't know how to be loud. And sometimes I want to be loud, and I don't know how to do it. So when I'm around you, you make me feel good energy. So please don't stop being loud." What? I was like, "You like my loud?" And right then and there, another perspective of me came into being. Well, Nate, why don't you like your loud? It's part of your composite. That's who you are. It's in your DNA. And so that day I thought, my loudness, my crazy energy, my exciting times has a way of impacting people. Now I see it at church. I see it in meetings. I see it at events. I see it at, activities and stuff I go to with other people. My craziness has a way of changing the atmosphere in the room. Before I thought it was negative. But what I found out is there are people who like the energy and sometimes feed off the energy for their own sustenance. Don't change who you are. Your originality matters. And so on the screen, what's interesting with this is this red chair, and red is my favorite color. So this red chair, what I loved about the red chairs, all of the chairs, the red one and the white ones, all of them sit people. So you can sit. All of them have legs. All of them have a back. But they don't all sit the same way. Now, these other chairs are hard plastic, maybe even metal. But that red chair is supple leather. Y'all see them buttons, them push-in buttons and that stuff? You sit in that chair and it's almost like you're getting a back massage. What I had to learn is my originality, even though it might look like other people's, when I walk in my original self, it has a way of making people feel a little comfortable. I have a way of making people feel connected. I have a way of making people want to say, hey, I want to be around you a little more. Your originality matters. It is very potent in changing the lives of people. Now, here's what's great about originality. I wrote a book about it because one of the things I started thinking about was, one of the first things I did when I was figuring out, well, how do we build leaders? I wrote a book called Nate's Notions You Matter. Nate's Notions You Matter is, of all my books I've written, and I've written 4, this is the only book that's written specifically for leaders at a different level. I wouldn't give this book to a high school student. It's not really for them. This is for leaders who are specifically thriving and say, okay, I need to do a self-check. This book checks you. This book says, you need to wake up. This book says, who are you today? And so it's interesting because one of the things I tell people to do is, if you're going to be original you, let's do a SWOT analysis. So in the business sector, we use the term SWOT a lot. Strengths, that's the S. W, weaknesses. O, opportunities. And T is threats. But when I was writing the book, I flipped it. Because in the business sector, we look at, what are the strengths of your company? What are the weaknesses of your company? What are the opportunities that your company can make to get more money? What are the threats of other businesses that can affect your people count with your business? I said, well, wait a minute. If we're talking about people's lives, that means we are a product. I have to brand me. I'm a product. You are a product. So every time you operate in your business, every time you operate in your level of leadership, you are the product that people see. I had to fix my product. My packaging wasn't right. Wait a minute. I don't want no saran wrap on this. Y'all better get the real good stuff. No, this is not how this works. Saran wrap stick to everything. Give me some aluminum foil because it's shiny. And if you don't do right by it, it can cut you too. Y'all know that, right? Aluminum foil can cut you, right? Saran wrap can't cut you. If anything, it'll wrap you up. So I started thinking, wait a minute. We're bringing. So in the book, I said, let's do a SWOT analysis, but let's flip it. So now I say, what are your strengths that can't nobody take from you? Going back to what Tara said. What are your strengths? And I challenge people in this book, I need you to write down, let's do a 90-day challenge. I need you to write down, what are your strengths? Give me just 5 of them.